People said they weren't going to jeopardize that, and the president listened. And so we've got a similar situation occurring in British Columbia. You know, we've got.
But they could. They said they can reapply and go a different route.
Absolutely. You know, I think if they found a route that was more environmentally safe, then they would do that. I mean, the U.S. does depend on